Hello, I'm Dr. Tiffany Tyler Garner, and I have the privilege of serving as the Children Advocacy Alliance's Executive Director. Our mission is to bring our time, talent, and resources to improving conditions for Nevada's children in the areas of education, safety, economic well-being, and health. We are committed to being the independent voice for Nevada's children and families. With each podcast, we will look at ways our community can work together to answer a critical call to action, to provide our children with all the resources they need to make a strong start in life. Today we'll explore some child welfare issues with State Senator Pat Spearman and Abraham Gomez from Nevada Youth Network.
Hi, I'm Chip Carter with Children's Advocacy Alliance, and welcome to our podcast. Today we have some great guests that I'd like to introduce to you right now. First of all, we have Senator Pat Spearman.
Hello.
Nice to have you with us. Thank you so much. And then we have Abraham Gomez with Nevada Youth Network.
Pleasure to be here, Chip.
We've been one-dimensional in our thinking and three-dimensional in our criticizing.
Fair. That's very fair. I think that's, and it's easy, right?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
easy to criticize, and it's much more difficult to enact a solution and get involved and stay with it. And I think something, like Nevada Youth Network, been around 12 years, you said, right? Like, that's not nothing. That's a big thing to start an organization that deals with a population that is vulnerable, that has so many needs, that has multiple needs, and yet stick with it and thrive. So I think that speaks to a lot of what you're saying is it is easy to be very three-dimensional in your criticism about things.
Just like Senator Spearman said, it takes a village. So for the Nevada Youth Network, we've been there for 12 years, but we've had so many community partners that have chimed in and helped us, donated, and literally, right, there's so many needs that, just some volunteers can't do it all on their own. So we've had people, we have really good partnerships with Metro, Bolden Command. They often come down, and I believe, in that neighborhood, policing is sometimes something that they may see as a negative, right? Because they're often there. So we have worked a partnership where Metro will come down and they do homework with our kids. Because at the end of the day, they're the future, and they're going to grow up and they're going to live in that neighborhood possibly, and we want them to have a great relationship.
Be those police
with
officers.
The police officers.
Yes.
And then to go back just real quick with Senator Spearman when she was mentioning the housing crisis. So the Sherman Gardens is a public housing, and a lot of the we talk not only with the students but the parents, and we've had parents before who tried to save up money to go somewhere else, and right now that's almost impossible because right now in public housing they pay a fixed monthly rate, right? Whether it's $400, $600 a month. But if they try to leave that neighborhood and go to somewhere else, you can even be located in North Las Vegas, you're looking at $1,400, $1,500 when they're not making that off what they're making off welfare or whatever they can be. So, that's another issue that even when people do try to leave and maybe go to a better school district for their children, it's tough because they're financially not able to do that. And they have to stay at the school that's the nearest to them, such as Matt Kelly, which we've already discussed. So, it's dang if you do, dang if you don't. It's very tough out there for families and children.
And can I say this? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry. Forgiven? Okay.
No, you're good. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I'm ADHD. All right. And every teacher will understand, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't have her in my classroom, But that also helps me multitask. So I had a bill last time and it passed, and it's important to mention this. And the bill was the one, and it's authorizing, and the state treasurer has just finished the rulemaking process and set up the program that provides for IDA's, individual development accounts. Now, what you just said, the reason that many people who are in public housing and on public assistance is that if you save any money at all, then your benefits will be decreased.
Wow.
Yeah. And the same people who think that that's smart are the same people that talk about, oh, you ought to get them off of generational welfare, then change the system.
Yeah.
The system is not designed to get people off welfare. It's designed for generational welfare. And so the system is working. Don't criticize the system that you designed to work that way. Change the system. Okay. And so what my bill does and what the treasurer can do now, and that is to help people who are receiving any type of public assistance to save money, to either build, to purchase a home, pay off debt that's keeping them from purchasing a home, start a small business, and none of that counts against their social services.
Awesome.
It does not reduce any of their benefits. And for foster children, which we've not talked about, okay? Foster children, 1201 on the day of their birthday, 1201 midnight, they're no longer eligible to be in that. And so if they've not been adopted, if they don't have a family that has cared for them and the family that they were taken from or whatever the situation, when the 1201, they're in the streets. And basically what we've told them, before this bill is figure it out, go figure it out and be successful. Okay. Yeah. You might wind up on the streets. Yeah. You might wind up in human trafficking. Yeah. You might wind up in jail. Yeah. You might, but go figure it out. No. We don't do that. So it allows foster children in foster care to save up, or their foster parents or someone else who wants to contribute to that IDA, so that when 1201 comes, they have some type of a financial nest egg that they can become financially stable until they do figure it out. And so here, this is another reason I say we've got to stop looking and thinking about things one-dimensionally. We've got to think about it three-dimensionally, and then go back and do the criticism. What can we change? What needs to be done better? Because when you set up a system that is designed for people to either fail or it to be a recurring situation, don't criticize the people because they're doing what you said they would do in that system. Change the system.
Well, and that's where I would say it's race-based.
Yeah.
The system is totally geared to keep certain races where, and I'm air quoting because it's a podcast, but that's where they want.
Yeah.
And I find that a very... It boggles my mind that we're still there in 2022, but I don't see how you can say that it's anything else. It's racism. It is a big part of what that poverty and institutional thing is racism.
It's racism. And let me say this from the perspective of being an ordained minister. It's not only race-based, but it's also people who desire a theocracy and parade as though democracy is what they're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a great point.
Because people say, well, this is a nation that was founded on Christian. No, it wasn't. It was founded by people who were trying to escape that type of tyranny. And so the race basing of the systems are really designed to keep those who are in privilege there, and those who are not, keep them where they are. And in many cases, they justify it using when I got my master's in divinity, we talked about exegesis, which is going into the scripture and pulling out what it says. Eisegesis is taking what you wanted to say and put it in the scripture. Okay? And so when you hear people say things like, well, God doesn't like those people, that's eisegesis. Scripture never said that. Okay? And so if we're really going to talk about democracy, let's talk about democracy and recognize that everybody's not Protestant. Some people are Catholic. Let's recognize that some people are not Christian. Some people are Muslim. Some people are Buddhist. Some people have Jewish faith, and some people have, quote, don't identify with any faith. And until we do that, make sure that we're talking about the needs of children, the most vulnerable in our society. And at the same time, if we treat the children fairly, guess what? We're going to treat those who are over the age of 65 and retired. We'll treat them fairly. Let's talk about that in terms of what is the best thing that should happen. What is the golden rule? The golden rule, not who has the most gold makes the rule, but the golden rule, do unto others. What do I want society to look like when I'm 70? And if I can figure that out at 20 and work towards that for the next 50 years of my life, then guess what? I have the kind of society that I want to see. But the way we're going right now, we're talking about it, but not walking about it.
Okay, so day 3 of our podcast now. There's so many things I want to go back to.
I'm just, this, and listen, this is real. This is personal to me because as a pastor, I've dealt with it with my parishioners. And it has been very frustrating. It was very frustrating to me to have to call people who are in the position that I'm in right now and convince them that the issue about night care for children was important. Convince them that the issue of not having any place for the children to go, the students to go after school. And some people say, well, you got the Boys and Girls Club. Okay, it takes 23.7 miles, from where most of the people in Senate District 1 live down there. Okay, we do not have a concerted effort for economically available after school programs. So if you're really going to talk about that and you're going to talk about the graduation rate, let's back up. Okay, if this is where you want to end, then you got to, think backwards so you can plan forward. And I'm so tired of us talking about these things and then not doing anything about it. Time to stop talking and let's start working.
So let me grab from there. Okay. So if you don't mind sharing, why do you do this? Abram, why do you work with Nevada Youth Network? What is it in you that really drives you for that?
Well, for me, I know when Michael first brought me there, he talked to me about the community. He showed me, certain things that they live through and the amount of money that they make yearly, which is, a couple of thousand, which is nothing, honestly. And, me, I've always, since Michael, I've always been by his side when I was younger, and I followed him, and I've kind of just, seen what he's done, and I've done those same things. But it's truly one of the most rewarding things to do is to help people that need it. Whether it's school supplies, food, every Christmas we give away presents. We actually have several different community partners that give us toys to give to them. But seeing those kids' faces that they've never possibly received gifts before, or on Thanksgiving, we provide them with a take-home meal. So we provide them with the turkey, everything that they need to do to make their own fixings at home. We've delivered it to these parents, and these parents have cried before in front of us because they know that, if we're not there to assist them, there may not be someone else who cares, right? Who gives a crap. Mm-hmm. So, I'm happy that, I've had a cousin who's helped me realize that there's such a huge need. And yes, we're only located on 8th Street and Doolittle, but honestly, and you were mentioning it, tired of the talk, let's do the walk. If there was a Nevada Youth Network every mile within that jurisdiction, within an area like that, we would be better off, right? There isn't, but we would be better off.
But you're doing what you can now.
Exactly.
It's the story of the starfish, right? You can only save so many, but at least the ones you're saving are being saved. So, and what drives you to do the work you're doing? Because you don't sound very passionate at all. So I'm not getting any passion.
I'm trying to be muted
to help for it, and I'm not getting that from you. No, just kidding. But
because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I really am. I've heard this all my life. When I was younger, when I was a child, and we lived with my mom, who was a traveling evangelist, we didn't have a lot of money. Okay, and there were times when, yes, we were on public assistance. And we were there not because my mom was lazy, okay? We were there because in many instances, the jobs that she would have been qualified to do, she could not get hired for because she was a Black woman. Let that sit for a minute, okay? When I first went into the military, it was during a time when the military just transitioned from, quote, male-dominated and, the WACs and the waves, and you had to be, branched or assigned to the, quote, male part, and it was integrated. My dad served in a military that was segregated, okay? And I'm saying all this because this is what has influenced me. The times that we were on public assistance, we didn't like it, and we were trying to get off. But again, you couldn't have a savings account. And the only car you could have was a hoopty that may or may not get you to work. Okay? And the only place for you to live was, quote, in public housing. And then people would say things like, well, by the 5th of the month, all the money's gone. Well, all the money's gone because you can't have a checking account. Okay. And so it's all of these things. And then as a pastor, pastoring people who were not wealthy, coming from low wealth communities, low wealth households, but these are good people. Good people. As a senator for Senate District 1, most of the people in my Senate district are not wealthy. And these are the people who send me emails. These are the people that call me. These are the people that see me coming out of the stores. These are people that tell me their issues. And as I said earlier, once upon a time when I was only a pastor, I would have to call people like me and convince them that, this mother that has 4 children, why does she have 4 children? Where's her husband? That's irrelevant. Okay. You're the one that said, let the child be born. Okay. So talk to the hand because my ears ain't listening. All right. So all of these things put together, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let's do the right thing for all the right reasons. And if you do not do the right thing for children, the society is always going to be screwed up. Can I use your word? Society's always going to look like crap. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. I used his word. All right. So that's why I do what I do. Okay. And I'm so tired of people talking philosophically and ideologically when none of that stuff buys a loaf of bread.
Exactly.
None of that buys. If we're going to do right, then we got to do right. That's where we are now. And the affordable housing crisis it speaks to that in volumes. In volumes. The people that are writing me, emailing me, and calling me about trying to find a place to live, and they have children. Not only do they have children, but I got a call from a 72-year-old woman whose rent was going to double. And she was only going to have about $350 left in her Social Security check. Okay? I'm getting calls from people who are on public assistance, limited, because they're trying to work as well. And the rent goes up. What am I going to do with my children? Talked to a person last night who had a family member that had a stroke, was an amputee, and was just coming back from, making their way back in rehab. And the person, they went up on the rent and gave them 30 days to get out. And when they went to legal aid to try to get more services, the retaliation by the landlord was to hold on to their deposit and then say that they had done X number of dollars damage to the apartment. I hear that story too much. Why do I do what I do? Because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. The things that are happening to us right now, they're within our control. And the resources are within our grasp. And my challenge to people is, if you really mean what you're talking about, then get up and let's do it. Let's do it together. Stop talking about it and let's do it. The reason that the students at Matt Cali and some of the other low wealth neighborhood schools have, the reason that they have food right now is because of the America Rescue Plan dollars coming in, and everybody's going to be able to eat. Remember when we were arguing at the state legislature about free breakfast? And free breakfast. And some of my colleagues are talking, well, we can't afford it. What do you mean you can't afford it? You can't afford it now, but you can afford $200,000 keeping somebody in a jail cell, and it's going to cost you $1.35 for breakfast.
Well,
okay,
that pipeline.
You need to go back to school because your math ain't adding up. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Stop talking about it. Let's get together and do something about it. And let me just say this. I'm so sorry.
No.
The reason that people have gotten comfortable with talking about things and not doing anything is because we as the public have not held elected officials accountable. We've allowed this kind of stuff to go on, and we've not been engaged in the electoral process. And whenever we're not engaged in the electoral process, it's like if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Whenever we're not engaged, then the people do whatever they want to do because they say, well, there's no consequence. But let's get involved in the electoral process, and let's ask people who want our vote, what are you doing for our children? What are you doing for our seniors? See, because if we take care of both ends of life spectrum, the people in the middle will be all right. Okay, or let me say it like this. Take care of both ends of life spectrum. The people in the middle going to be all right.
Yes.
All right.
No, I agree. So I think I honestly, this could go on all day. I am loving this because it's such everything that you're bringing up and everything you're bringing up. I mean, it really is that endemic problem of not taking care of the people at both ends of the spectrum, right? And I know y'all aren't dealing, Nevada Youth Network is dealing with youth, but it is true. I see that. I see that so clearly. But one of the things I'd like to ask is what specifically what can I do, right? What can one person do? And I think that's where I'll start with you, Abraham. What can somebody do that would really impact Nevada Youth Network if they wanted to get involved?
So just like Senator Spearman said, we just need people there. So we are mostly volunteer based, and Michael, as busy as a man he is, his mom is always there on Tuesdays, and I am there. The more volunteers, the better. Since school just started back up, we've been open for quite some time now. But when school started back up, we had an influx of kids. Sometimes we have 30 to 40 students and 3 volunteers. And 3 volunteers cannot help 30, 40 students do their homework. Right, it can be tough. So we always encourage people to.
What do you ask for volunteers? Is there a certain commitment? Is there like a commitment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So every Tuesday from 5:30 to 7, we're there. Usually the first 30 minutes or 40 minutes can be strictly homework. We want them to finish whatever they have. If they are struggling on a subject, math, reading, we can take them aside. We'll help them with that. And then for the other half of the class, we want to do some sort of programming, whether it's yoga, gardening. We've shown gardening to them. They love gardening. Anything along even martial arts, like you name it. We've tried to do other things on top of just homework. But the first and foremost important thing we can have is just someone there in person, because these kids, they love talking. So anytime we bring someone in, we have them explain, what do you do for a living? Let them know. Because we want these kids
to see
follow in the steps
possible.
of others.
Absolutely. So what's your website if they want to go and volunteer? Where would they go?
So we have a website. It's nevadayouth.network.org, or you can visit our Facebook. We often post on our Facebook, and that's Nevada Youth Network. If you ever want to volunteer, just email us or send us a direct message. Me, Michael, or someone else will definitely see the message, and we'll get back to you. Often people just write us there, say, hey, I want to donate snacks or whatever. We just say, hey, we're going to be here at this time, drop it off. So food donations are always welcome. We have plenty of that. But first and foremost, we would love to have you there in person, because that is where the kids will learn from you. And honestly, if you come, like for me, I've been going there for 12 years. You're going to come up, you're going to show up, you're going to fall in love with the kids, and you're going to want to keep coming back over and over again. And it's not even a job to me. I look forward to that after my job, because it lightens up my day for sure.
Awesome. And Senator, what would you suggest that people do? We've kind of touched on a little bit, but getting engaged, but what can get engaged with the political process? Really, the electoral process. I don't want to say political, because we're not political, but the electoral process, what can people do to get involved? And I think it's more than voting, right? I think, yes, we all need to vote. I think it's a civic duty that we can do that. But I think there's other things that we can do. And I'd like to know from your perspective in the legislature, what people can do.
Sure. Follow up, and I think it's serendipitous that my phone said GPS signal lost. So let me start there, okay? Sometimes it's just important to go to wherever the governing body is that's making the regulations, the rules, the laws, or whatever. Go to them, and if they're not doing the things that they said they would do, just go to the microphone and say GPS signal lost. Okay, you've lost your way. This is not what you said you were going to do. Hold us accountable. Show up at city council meetings, show up at county commission meetings. Right now at the legislature, because of COVID, we have, a way for you to engage with us without ever leaving your living room, without ever getting out of the bed. Just go on and sign up, and you can speak, you can talk, ask questions, or make comment, telephonically. Make sure that you are present, because when people see that you are present, then they know that the folks that put me there are also the people that can say to me, we're going to post this job description and we're going to hire somebody else.
And we're watching.
And we're watching.
We're grading your performance.
And I know I hear people say, well, I'm working, I'm just trying to put food on the table and a roof on my kid's head, stuff like that. But just like we engage socially for other things, how about creating a social network? If I can't go, you go. And then bring the information back to us. And if you can't go, you go and bring the information back to us and keep us engaged. As a pastor, I had what I called a social justice policy ministry. Okay, people who it was their job their job in that particular ministry to make sure they're following the things that happen, the laws that are being passed. What is the discussion? What are the things that affect the people in the congregation? Okay, and find out who's doing what, when, where, and how. Bring that back to the congregation. And we had a part of Sunday morning service that said, these are the things that are happening. Just saw a posting, and they're getting ready to put a liquor store there. It's going to be on the city council agenda. They're going to put a liquor store up here. People are like, what? Yeah, so we need to go to the city council meeting. Or this is being discussed. I got a letter when Senator David Parks was advocating for domestic partnerships, asking, pastors or people in faith communities to sign on to that. I took that, actually it was an email, took that email and I took it to church. And I said, we have people in this church right now for whom that is important. Okay. And this is the person that is advocating for that. And wherever you live, whoever is representing you, make sure you call them and tell them, I support this, okay? I wasn't elected to anything then, but I think that that's important. Figure it out. Find a way to make sure that you're involved, and then hold elected officials accountable. If we're not doing the job, and if we have lost our way, if the GPS signal has been lost, okay, you can always recalibrate on election day.
Absolutely. I love that, and I think that what you suggest is so great, right? Because we see all these, even if it is a two-parent home, half the time there are 2 and 3 jobs going on, right? It's a hard thing to do at the end of the day to say, now I'm going to get involved. But if you have a community, if you're part of a community, and your brother-in-law can do something or whatever and bring that back. And I think a big part of it is always, what's in it for me, right? I think what you're saying about bringing an email to share with everybody in a group and saying, there are people that this affects. It does affect all of us, but I don't think we always pay attention to that, because if we're in our bubble and we're just watching the new Game of Thrones or whatever, and we're not thinking about what you need to see how it is being brought home to yourself too. So
if there's no consequence for elected officials, there's no accountability.
Absolutely. So, oh my gosh, this has been so great. I have just enjoyed talking to both of you so much. This is so awesome. So please, if you want to help Nevada Youth Network, go to nevadayouthnetwork.org or visit the Facebook page. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. And Senator Spearman wants all your emails to hold her accountable.
Yeah. I get at least 200 or 300 a day.
Okay. Well, maybe just combine it at the end of the week and we'll send her an email.
Or just show up at these meetings.
Absolutely.
Show up at the meetings.
And Children's Advocacy, we always try and put the things like the interim finance committee meetings and things like that on our website so people can get engaged. And yes, the pandemic may not have been good for a lot, but it was good for that Zoom connection. So there are ways that everybody can get more involved in the electoral process. So I think that's very important. So,
and they can always go to the legislative website, look my name up, and there's a web page there that they can go to. I'm on social media. Twitter is at Senator Spearman, and Instagram is Dr. Pat. I think it is. Facebook is Senator Spearman for Nevada. But there's always a way to find me. And fortunately or unfortunately, when people type my name into Google, a bunch of stuff comes up.
So, all right. Well, thank you both so much for coming on our podcast. It was really, really delightful talking to both of you.
Thank you,
I really appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time on the Children's Advocacy Alliance podcast.